Well, good morning, Bob, and thank you very much. And I do remember that corned beef and cabbage dinner. Brady's Irish, in case you didn't know that. And we have a little thing for corned beef, particularly. But it was a great event, and I remember and appreciate your support. I appreciate all your support. I mean, wherever you came out in the last primary, it was great to see the Republican Party come together and become involved in an election. And it's great to see the Republican Party, after that election, come together and work for a united front to elect Republicans statewide. At the local level, at the statewide level, and to take our message to the people of Illinois to give them back their government. A number of you have asked, how close was that election? It was just perfect. Even Pat Quinn told me one vote's a landslide these days, Bill. For those of you who don't know, my legislative career has not always been a landslide. My first race for office, I ran against a 14-year Republican incumbent in a primary. I think I was the only one who thought I could win. Even my supporters thought they were sending me up for the next election. And I won by a whopping 8 votes. That election then would be like winning this one by 1. And I would be remiss if I didn't start off by thanking all the candidates who ran in that election, who put their time, their effort, their money, and their family forward to try to move forward the cause that we're all here today to support. And particularly Senator Dillard, a friend and colleague, someone who I have a great deal of respect for, someone who I think couldn't have handled it any better than how he handled the 30-day interim period from the day the election took place to the day he actually congratulated me on becoming our party's nominee. We need to remember that. That's the way we Republicans need to work together as we move forward in this series of events that we're going to do to make Illinois the best state in the nation. Let me apologize that the better half of the Brady family is not here. My wife, Nancy, is back in Bloomington. She is available to speak if you ever want to have a great speaker. By the way, every time she gets invited somewhere, I never get invited back. But we have 3 children. Our youngest is a junior in high school, and she's trying to help him prepare for something that is important to us. He's taking his ACT test this morning. I talked to her a little bit this morning. He was a little frantic. She thought he was prepared last night before he went to bed, but apparently he lost his calculator. So we got that taken care of. He's off taking his ACT, and she's resting. We have 2 other children, Katie and William. Katie's a nurse at Children's Hospital in Chicago, and William is a second-year law student at DePaul University. I guess we could always use more good lawyers. We're proud of our family. We hope you get a chance to meet them as we move forward and work together to make this election work for all of us. I wish the message was more complex than what it really is. This message is so simple about how we're going to move this state forward and this party forward and win elections. It's almost frightening. I often say if higher taxes, higher fees, more regulation, more litigation, deficits of debt worked, Illinois would be the #1 job-producing state in the nation. But unfortunately, we're not. We're amongst the worst job-producing states in the nation. Over 700,000 people have decided net to leave this state in the last 10 years. In just the first 12 months of the Quinn administration, we lost over 250,000 jobs for Illinois families. It's pretty easy to understand. I was talking to someone who's in the baseball business yesterday, and he asked me, he said, Bill, he said, how can you balance this budget? How can you solve this problem without raising taxes? And I looked at him and I said, answer me this. If your stadium were half full and you could only sell half the seats, what would you do to sell the other half of the seats? He looked at me and he said, well, I'd reduce the price. I said, exactly. Exactly. And the price is the cost of doing business in Illinois. It's taxes, it's regulation, it's bureaucracy, it's litigation. You see, Illinois has the greatest opportunity of any state in this nation if we put the policies forward that will give the private sector, and make no mistake, we are in warfare between the private and the public sector. If we give the private sector what it needs to do what it does so well, and that is grow jobs and create prosperity for Illinois families and businesses in this state. Yesterday Yesterday, someone suggested that they felt that Pat Quinn should be recognized for his courage to raise taxes. I don't know about you, but the people I'm talking to in Illinois are looking for a governor who has the courage to balance the budget and cut our taxes. Illinois has become too expensive a place to live, work, and do business, which is why I've called for $1 billion in tax cuts. Eliminating the sales tax on gasoline. We're one of the few states in this nation that penalizes families and businesses with a double tax on gas. What's the cost of that? The cost is that people go to other states to buy gasoline, to buy groceries, to buy beverages and cigarettes. Overall, we lose revenue because we are blindsided by misguided tax policies. We need to eliminate the tax on the states in Illinois. Illinois is one of the few states in the nation that has a tax penalty for the privilege of dying a resident with a license. Now, what does that do? What's the fastest growing segment of our population? Retirees. What do retirees think about? They think about costs associated with retiring. They think about estates. Why have we lost a net outmigration of 700,000 people over the last 10 years? Because we forced them to make economic decisions to move elsewhere where they can live better at more reasonable rates. We have to realize that if we want to keep some of our most valuable resources and people, we have to reduce the tax and fee burden. The regulatory burden. We've lost tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars of investment in Illinois businesses through ethanol plants, biodiesel plants, coal mines, and other resources because we have a bureaucratic nightmare of regulation when it comes to citing investment in these areas. We need more efficient, more effective government. What's Governor Quinn want to do? Well, if you pay a higher fee, we'll put you at the front of the line. That's no solution. We should be able to operate government efficiently and effectively so the private sector can make as good an investment in Illinois for Illinois families and businesses as anywhere else. Yes. And when it comes to litigation, boy, don't we all love that? I apologize. I promise my son won't be a trial lawyer. What did we see just happen? The trial lawyer-dominated Supreme Court just threw out medical malpractice reform. Now, there's not a doctor that didn't pay attention to that. There's not a medical malinsurance company that didn't pay attention to that. There's not one that's not thinking about leaving the state, reducing our quality and access to affordable health care. But in addition to that, we have a litigious system when it comes to workers' compensation. I'm a businessman. I'm not a career politician. I still operate a business. I'm going to tell you, it's struggling. I'm in the real estate business. I build homes. I develop land. I have about 75 realtors. We do other ancillary things. I know what it's like to make a workers' compensation premium payment. I know what it's like when my insurance agent comes into my office and tells me I've got to increase your rates. I say, well, what would it cost me if I was in Indiana? He says, well, the average rate in Illinois is $2.70 per 100 payroll. In Indiana, it's $1.30. I asked him, do Indiana workers who are injured go without remuneration? Are they on the streets homeless? Oh, no. Well, then why? Because the litigious environment here in Illinois creates an environment where it is not a fair system to balance the workers' compensation adjustment. And we need to change that system by throwing the system out and bringing one in like Indiana and other states in this nation.